the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. Dale Reber is on assignment tonight. And on today's podcast, we talk about winners and losers. We talk about something being amiss in Iowa. We talk about a Jesup time capsule with three guests, Grace Henninger, Maddie Bauler, and Jestina Kenser. We talk about possibilities for the Time Person of the Year. We look at Cowork 591 news and library news. And we look at the events inside of the Steve Brown Arts Center. We give you the top stories in Jesup, and we look at service and art. Let's look first, as always, at the winners and losers for the week. I have as my winners the University of Iowa and Iowa State women's basketball financially. Probably, for those of you that don't know, at the high school and college level, the major sports are football and basketball. They are the income sports. The University of Iowa with Caitlin Clark is bringing in tons of money right now. It is a great opportunity for them. I saw a picture on social media of the University of Iowa's bus that they travel in at UNI when they played UNI this past weekend, or it would be, this taping takes place on the Wednesday after they played UNI, and a beautiful bus that they traveled in, and part of that is due to the University of Iowa going to the Final Four last year. And also Iowa State University of Iowa women's basketball is very popular and sells out many games, although they are young this year. I believe they have six freshmen, one of those being a lady from Algona Garrigan, Miss Iowa basketball, coached by Brandon Schwab, a former coach here at Jesup. But that is the winners of this week, and the losers this week are Big Ten football. I watched Penn State and Michigan play. Of course, Michigan's going through some scandal right now by illegally scouting. I listened to the crowds of Penn State boo their quarterback and their coach. I listened to Iowa fans booing the offensive coordinator there. There's not a lot of points scored in Big Ten football. Presently, Big Ten football is taking a hit, so that is my losers for the week. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, taping from Cowork 591 Studios. This editorial in the Storm Lake Times Pilot, it was written by Art Cullen. I thought I had to read this to our listeners. It's called Something is Amiss in Iowa. It was a fine fall day, late Thursday, as we breathed in the smell of manure from Ames to Storm Lake. The week before, our noses told us in the dark when we hit the Iowa state line. As we looked at the bounty rolling in, we thought for the millionth time that this should be the richest place on earth. Somebody else gets the money. We get the poo. Iowa ranks 30th in median household income at about $80,000 per year, which sounds incredible, but that high-tax socialist Minnesota median income is $96,000. Storm Lake is at $51,000. We have the best soil, though less of it every year. We have the best climate for growing corn, especially, but it's becoming more extreme. We have abundant water, but we are drawing it down and fouling it. We have an elaborate infrastructure that could support people and prosperity, that we are leaving to decay. We used to have a lot of brains combined with work ethic, not afraid to get out there and hoe a row. We're chasing the brains off to Minnesota and Illinois, where the money is. We're hostile to immigrants who are perfectly willing to pick up the shovel. It's not a good position for the future. Iowa's the only state with a rising cancer rate. It is second in cancer incidence to Kentucky, tobacco central. Iowa is among the top 4 states in infant mortality, up there with Mississippi, and leads the nation in childhood respiratory illness. We are second to Wisconsin. There's enough science out there to tell us that nitrate in the water leads us to higher rates of childhood cancer and neurological problems for adults. Research shows higher asthma rates in children around meatpacking complexes. Bayer was just hit with another verdict finding that Roundup, its largest investor, is calling for talks with the plaintiffs. Consolidation is killing us. Meatpackers used to make twice as much in real terms. Now we make half as much in Storm Lake as someone in Illinois, which we like to scoff at as corrupt. Who owns Iowa? Cook Enterprises and Bayer. How do you fix pollution in the river? You don't. You tell yourself it's the price of feeding starving children in Gaza with number 2 yellow corn. You should be damn glad for your $50,000 in median household income. Your kid doesn't really need to go to college. So few jobs here call for it. Yeah, we used to make twice as much, relatively speaking, but we sure are glad to be free of the union dues. The best you can hope for is tax cut, even though you barely make enough to pay tax. Tuition at Iowa State goes up and up, while state appropriations go down and down. The mechanics likes the realignment business from me driving state highways. Not much road work to bother you from here to Fort Dodge. All roads lead to Des Moines, which can barely be reached these days for all the construction. Why would you stay in Pomeroy? The main street is about to implode. Literally, it's roped off by yellow tape. One of the buildings used to be bank, once rock solid and these days ready to explode into the street, which also isn't in such great shape. Oh, and they are going to tear down the old school building. The chemicals were progress, so were the confinements and the sow sell-offs. The propaganda told us it was the only way to go, so we went. You can't be sure why Iowa tops in cancer. You can't just blame it on dust. We like to chuckle, but the dust is laden with ammonium sulfide. It's what you smell near the boondocks. If you suspect correlation, you are anti-livestock. Were it not for ethanol and Iowa Select, we might be making less than $50,000 per household. What is causing Main Street to fall down and cancer rates among Iowa children to rise? Why is Iowa so much poorer than Minnesota and Storm Lake so much poorer than Iowa? We bought the pig in the poke. Trade your independence for a yoke disguised as corporate security. Now nature's calling the bluff and the science is adding up. This has not been the best experiment in ag-industrial consolidation. If we can figure out how to get back to center, we could be better off than our neighbors. Art Cullen of the Storm Lake Times Pilot. I know Dale would love that. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Library news this week. Little Tot Storytime meets every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. for songs, stories, and more. Spice Club, the November Spice, is whole nutmeg. Pick up your sample and recipes to try at the JPL. Exercise with friends. Bring your friends every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 8 a.m. in the library community room for low-impact, video-led workouts. We try to do a new, different video each day, lasting 45 to 60 minutes. Is available to pick up at the library. Book Club will meet Monday, November 20th at 1 p.m. This is a heartfelt true story of a wife and mother's year-long experience inviting one new guest to dinner each week that her husband was deployed overseas. Dinner with the Smileys isn't really about dinner or the military, but about the 250 strangers who came together to help raise 3 boys in the absence of their father. Looks real good. Early out movie, Wednesday, November 22nd is an early out day at school, so come with your friends to see the new Barbie movie. The movie will begin at 1:30 p.m. in the library community room. Free popcorn and water provided. Monday, join us Monday, November 27th at 1 p.m. for Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spends years developing and designing the atomic bomb. Their work comes to fruition on July 16, 1945, as they witness the world's first nuclear explosion, forever changing the course of history. Rated R. It runs 1 hour and 37 minutes, and free popcorn and water is provided. Don't forget the Jesup Public Library will be closed for Thanksgiving holiday, Thursday and Friday, November 23rd and 24th. Regular hours, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. will resume on Saturday, November 25th. Books and Brew Book Club. You like books, you like beer. Join us for Books and Brews Book Club. We talk about books and drink beer the second Monday of every month at Allerton Brewing Company in Independence. Pick up your copy of a selected book at the Jesup Public Library and meet at Allerton for a lively discussion. Our first Books and Brew meeting will be Monday, December 11th at 6:30 p.m. We will discuss It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. The Faustine Glass Class. Join us Monday, December 4th at 6 p.m. to make a beautiful DIY art with just glue and acrylic paint. It's so easy to create foul stained glass with technique, and it's sure to add personality to your home decor. All materials provide register for this free event. All materials are provided. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're coming to you from beautiful downtown Jesup. There is, coming up is the Times Person of the Year is voted in December, and you have to wonder who is going to be the number one choice. In Vegas, they make odds for this. I'm sure if you went to your local casino, you might actually be able to get these bets down. Right now, Elon Musk is at plus 125. Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine is at plus 125. Joe Biden is at plus 700. The Iran protesters are at plus 900. Janet Yellen is at plus 1,000. It's been a long time since a woman has been the Times Person of the Year. Merrick Garland, is at plus 1,200. And so is King Charles III. Xi Jinping is at plus 1,300. Ron DeSantis is at the Florida governor is at 1,500. And Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva is at 1,800. Those are the odds for the Time Person of the Year. Musk, obviously, and Zelensky are the two favorites to win the award at 175. I believe right now, you heard it here first, the people of Gaza will be the winner of the Times Person of the Year. You heard it here first. If you have someone you believe to be the Times Person of the Year, don't be afraid to let us know. Some of the former ones have been people like Greta Thunberg, Barack Obama. Adolf Hitler was at one time. So it'll be interesting. But the prediction is from this reporter that it will be the people of Gaza. Local news from the White Funeral Home. We have one obituary from Jesup, one that is a lady that I knew that was very kind to me over the years. Gloria A. Lewis, 91 years old, of Jesup, died Thursday, November 9th, 2023 at Unity Point Allen Memorial Hospital following an accidental fall in Jesup. Gloria Ann Lewis was born August 2nd, 1932 in St. Joseph, Missouri, the daughter of John and Lucille Gillis. She graduated from Mound City High School in Mound City, Missouri, with a class of 1951, and then the Iowa State Teachers College in Cedar Falls, Iowa. On June 24, 1956, she was united in marriage to Richard Place Lewis at her parents' home in Mound City. They lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota for a short time until Richard finished school. The couple returned to Richard's hometown of Jesup in 1957. He preceded her in death in 2005. Gloria worked as a teacher at the Jesup schools for a year before deciding to stay home and raise her family. She was a member of the First Presbyterian Church in Jesup and also a 50-year member of the Order of the Eastern Star. Gloria is survived by one son, John Bradford Brad Lewis, and daughter-in-law, Lisa Lewis of Ablington, Iowa. Two grandchildren, Christopher Lewis of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Britta Driscoll of Ablington, Iowa, and three great-grandchildren, Jamison Driscoll, Jeremiah Driscoll, and Ireland Driscoll. She was preceded in death by her parents, husband, Richard, and one sister-in-law and her husband, Sandra and Robert Finder. Memorials may be directed to the family. This is Steve Brown, Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're at Cowork 591 Studios in beautiful downtown Jesup. We're with Grace Henninger, Maddie Bauler, and Jestina Kenser. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah. You're with Jesup CAPs. Yep. Tell us a little bit about CAPs, will you please?
Well, CAP stands for Center for Advanced Professional Studies. It's a traditional high school class in the sense of you go and you show up, you put in time and effort. It's not in your high school building, so I go to school at Dunkerton, so I actually have to travel down here. And I know that Jesup kids leave their school too and come down to the Co-works building every day for CAPs.
So you're here how many hours a day?
2 hours.
Okay.
2 hours. We start at 12:35 and we end at 2:35. So.
And what happened? What's class like for CAPs?
Professional,
Yep.
but not professional at the same time.
All right. So like what's a daily class like?
It's kind of like a business setting, I guess. It's like we're coworkers and not really students. Like we get treated like we're professionals and not like we're kids.
Who is the Jesup teacher for that?
Allison Kitch.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into this class?
I think all of us have different answers. For me, I want to go to real estate and marketing, and so I really took this class to get my foot in the door and to meet people, to really network myself, but also to learn how to be a professional and learn how to work with other businesses, gain some more experiences, learn some new things, but also mainly to get out of your school building and talk to people, be treated like an adult, because the real world is happening for me in 6 months now.
So Maddie, you're a senior this year.
Yes.
And you two are juniors, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And why did you guys get into CAPs?
Well, I had some friends that did it, and they told me that was like you get to know what you're gonna do when you're older. Like you'll learn what you want to be. Mm-hmm. Like it helps you know that. So I didn't know what I wanted to do for sure. So I decided I wanted to take CAPs so I could figure that out.
So has it taken you any direction?
Well, so at first I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I thought I wanted to be an EMT. Mm-hmm. But then now I think I want to be a nurse.
Interesting. What took you there? That's quite a change. What took you there?
Well, I knew I wanted to do something medical, but I didn't know if that's for sure what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to be an EMT, but I thought that's a lot of work to not get paid that much, which is not all about how much you get paid, but you're working 24-hour days and then having 2 days off, depending on where you go. And I just didn't want to do that.
Right.
So then we did personality tests, and then we put it into different like calculators to see what you'd be good at. And then it told me like a lot of medical things, and like I don't know exactly what I'd want to do in the nursing field, but I know that's something I want to go into.
Ah, neat. And Grace, why did you get into CAPS?
I was horrified of public speaking and just meeting new people. I hated it. And so I heard that this was a great way to get over public speaking fears and that I could also get college credits for it. And so, I mean, if you would have told me 3 months ago that I'd be meeting new people on a podcast, I probably would have freaked out. So I think I'm making good progress.
Yes, you are. Yeah, well, that's real neat. Okay. The reason you're here tonight is to tell us about a project you're working on in CAPS. What is that project?
We are doing a time capsule for the city of Jesup in order to preserve Jesup's history in the state of how it is now, to eventually compare it to how it's going to be in the future.
Okay, a time capsule. So who had this idea? Jestina, there's three of you here. Who had this idea of a time capsule?
Well, we kind of had a list of projects that we could choose from, and then I know that Madison wanted to do it first, and then Grace kind of hopped on board, and then I hopped on board.
Okay. Have you enjoyed working with each other?
Yeah, we all get along great. We have a lot of fun with it.
Okay. Tell us how this. So you were presented with this time capsule, and Miss Kish presented the idea to you.
Yeah.
And then what was the next step?
So Mr. Fetgather reached out to Kitch, and then we found out. So then we emailed Mr. Fetgather, and we went over, set up a meeting, and then just kind of talked about what we were expected to do and kind of what he thought.
You're real fortunate to be right across the street from him here, too.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, just run across and ask him. He's real accessible. You know, it's not like he closes his door and hides. When do you want to have this time capsule done by?
We were thinking spring.
Okay.
But it's really hard to get a full deadline when there is so many things that need completed with this. So we'll get into a lot of those things later, but it's a lot more work putting this whole project together than people may think. It's not just putting things in a box and putting it somewhere. There's so much more that needs done with it. There's so much more planning. We have to use our brains and create ideas and then run them by each other and then run them by Mike. And it's a process. So having a strict deadline, isn't something that's really in the question. But as for having it done by spring, we feel that's pretty achievable, and that's the goal.
Well, so let's talk about this whole process. Go through that process as far as what you're going to use for a time capsule. You talked about a butterfly garden. Mr. Fetgather said maybe even putting it directly in the middle of 6th Street. What are some ideas that you have?
We came up with a list of ideas that really preserve Jesup's history of now. So we're each holding on to some items. So some things we really wanted to represent was the school. So as for the school is under construction right now, as many people know. We are building an auditorium and a lot of other cool features. So we don't have the printed sheet right now, but we have a blueprint of the construction going on that is going to end up going in the time capsule, which is really, really cool because that's very current in Jesup, and really seeing how that's going to change, in years from now. If it's still going to be the same high school, if it's still going to be built the same. We are also putting like a map of like the sports fields and stuff like that. Not a map, but what is that? An overhead view? View of the sports maps. We're going to put pictures of like the Jesup streets, how Jesup looks from like Google Earth. And then we also have like the school calendar. And other things are going in it, such as Jesup t-shirts, just things that really represent the school well and the school as it is right now.
So we also have some newspapers as well of some interesting things, like things that have happened in Jesup over the past few years. Some talk about COVID, some show all the businesses in Jesup, and then there's also like pictures of sports teams, and then kind of like cool stuff like that that really just shows like how Jesup, like in the future, they would think how Jesup was 25
Right.
years ago.
Grace, what else did you want to share there?
We have business cups and different business cards. We definitely want to remember the school and how it is now, but we also want to remember some of the current businesses that are in play that still just make Jesup the community that it is.
Right. How long would this time capsule be closed?
We're thinking 25 years.
Which actually goes pretty fast.
It's enough time where it's nothing, almost nothing will be the same. But it's also a short enough amount of time where people are going to still remember it's there. Because we don't
Right.
want to leave it somewhere for a prolonged period of time where people forget about it completely. We want it there, like a perfect amount of time where people, when it gets brought up, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that being buried, but I don't remember what's in it.
So do you see yourselves building the time capsule or someone building it for you?
Somebody probably building it for us. My manufacturing skills are
Yeah,
Not
me
very-
doing manual labor is not something that's going to ever happen.
if we put my box in the ground, we might not still have some of this stuff.
Yeah, you will not be catching us with heavy
Any
machinery.
tools.
It's not something I'm going to be doing. No
Okay.
thanks.
Okay. What are some of the greatest challenges you had with this project?
That's a hard question because there's a lot of challenges. We have a lot of freedom with this, and that's a good thing, but also a bad thing. So we are never sure of our next steps. Like, we don't know what we should do next, and that's I think one of our biggest problems.
To go off of what she said, Mike has been really great with giving out ideas. He is just amazing. However, he has given us so much creative freedom that it's almost overwhelming. It's
Right.
like, which isn't a bad thing. It's, learning. It's a learning process, but coming up with ideas and running it by each one of us, getting each other's ideas, and then getting Mike's again, that, like, having that much creative freedom and not having for sure outline of what exactly he wants us to do, it's a blessing. It's truly amazing that we have this opportunity to have this much freedom with this project, because not a lot of people do. However, it's also can be a struggle at times.
So what advice has Mrs. Kitch given you on that struggle? How has she guided you toward battling that?
Really just working together. I think before we all just kind of ran to Kitch and we were like, what should we do? What should we do? And she just kept saying, ask your group, figure it out together as a team. And we all have very different personalities, which is definitely a good thing in this situation, because when I think something's good, they say, Grace, that's awful. Maybe you didn't think that. So it's definitely good having them as a team.
Okay.
I
We
think
don't say it's awful. It's constructive criticism.
we're also, coming into this semester, I'd like to add, I had no clue who these people were. I probably didn't learn their names till like the second week of CAPs, honestly. But like after we've worked together, we've really become
Close,
really
yeah.
close, actually. And I think I wouldn't have wanted to work on this project with any other two people. Like it's truly amazing how all of our personalities just kind of mesh together.
We did have some technology challenges at first. We designed our gardens and stuff online, but it didn't have the outcome that we all liked. It kind of looked awful. And so we put it on a graph instead, like lined paper. And it still just didn't have the effect we wanted. So we've been trying to kind of find planning stuff that has a professional effect on it that makes it look good, but still how we want it to look.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely been a struggle to find. One of our ideas was for the butterfly garden. Mike actually came up with it, and he said, well, what if we put the time capsule in the ground and then put a butterfly garden on top of it? And my thought was like, oh, that's cool, some plants that will attract butterflies. And he was like, no, a garden in the shape of a butterfly. So that when you look at it from aerial view, that you can see, oh, there's a butterfly. which I thought was very unique.
Yeah, oh, that would be unique. And you can still put plants that attract butterflies in it besides, yeah.
But
yeah.
you don't realize how hard it is to place a butterfly shape on a website that only lets you use straight lines. That was definitely a struggle. So finding websites that allow you to get a good actual image of what you're trying to plan,
It takes a second.
It takes a second. We've used a lot of different things. We also don't really want to pay for
Premium
websites.
Yeah.
So it's going. It's getting there.
I'm sure there are architects that may help you with that in the area. Have you looked into that?
We have.
I really don't think we have. We've been kind of really trying to do everything on our own. And I think that's also a big challenge we face, is that we were like, yeah, we can do this all by ourselves. We need no help from anybody. And yet we really do. And that's probably kind of hard for all of us to admit that we need outside help. So no, we haven't really thought about an architect helping us design it or giving us advice, but that is really good. That's a really good point to add. And I think that when we come back to CoWorks tomorrow, that will probably
Definitely write that
definitely
down.
write that down and go over that.
You know, and Sean and Kelly might be able to give you some guidance in that direction. I know Nick Donnelly on the Jesup School Board has some connections with that as well. He may be able to give you. His father was an architect. I know Nick dabbles in that a little bit. He may help you as well at a little cost. What is, and please, Nick, I'm not volunteering you here if you hear this online. What has been the most enjoyable part about all of this for you?
Meeting Grace and Jestina, for sure. There was days we went out, and Miss Kitch, if you're hearing this, I'm totally lying, where we went out from business to business asking for donations to go in the time capsule if they wanted to be represented. And we've done this multiple days, but the one day we did it that was probably the most memorable was when we were at kind of like a crossroads where this was like the only thing we needed to get done for the project, and we got done early, and they had never had dairy cone ice cream in Jesup, and we were right across the street. And one of them, I think it was Jestina, mentioned how she wanted ice cream. And I was like, let's go. I was driving. We pulled into the parking lot. And I think we sat probably there for like 15 minutes and just talked. And I laughed so hard the entire time over just the most random things. It was honestly probably the most enjoyable part of this entire project. Like, just working with them. Like, it's great. Honestly, it's been a great experience learning how to put this all together and talking to people and meeting new people. And that's what CAPS is about. But something I didn't know I was going to get out of this was meeting new people and making new friends and really making core memories with people my senior year of high school. So
The Alaska Shake Sundae is the best thing at the Dairy Cone. So
me personally, I'm going to promote the marshmallow shake. It's my personal favorite.
all right. Is there anything else we need to know about the time capsule?
Definitely keep a lookout for it. We'll be posting more about it and definitely trying to put it more in the community. So
there's also going to be a lot of community involvement that we're going to be having with this as it starts to develop. So definitely keep a lookout for how you can contribute to it and how you can make your mark in Jesup, because that's what this time capsule really is the community itself making its mark. It has nothing to do with us making our mark or Mike making his mark. It's the community itself. We want to represent them. So keep a lookout for how you and can do so.
So obviously this won't be done by the end of the first semester, by the middle of January.
Well, I'm not digging in snow. So.
Yeah.
So no, probably not. No, this is a long process. We hope to have everything kind of put in place by end of semester, and then this project will most likely
go to a different
to a different group that will probably all handpick people from the roster to take this on. It'll pretty much be laid out. All they're gonna hopefully. I'm not making any promises. Don't put me on the spot like that. I'm not making any promises, but hopefully we have pretty much everything laid out. And the only thing that's gonna need to be done is putting the butterfly garden actually together and burying it.
Yeah, just kind of handing it off, making it as smoothly as possible.
Right. We want everything to be super detailed so that the people who get it next aren't like, okay, this is a jumbled mess. We don't know what to do.
Oh, neat. Thank you so much, Grace Henninger. Maddie Bauler and Jestina Kenser for coming tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you so
hopefully
much.
if we need you to come on again, we'll do that before the semester ends.
We'll
Yeah.
keep in touch.
This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Today I went to a meeting at City Hall. They had the Iowa Economic Development Authority in to look at Jesup and go over Jesup to see how they could better Jesup. And the Economic Authority has access to millions of dollars of grants. And the city, to their credit, led by Mayor Even and the city council, is working to get those grants. The Iowa the IEDA, talked about the goods and bad things of Jesup. And so I'm going to share those things with you. They took a downtown walk around, and they are more worried about, the IEDA is worried about downtown rather than the whole town. They go to towns all over Iowa. They were recently down in Maquoketa and other towns. But here are some of the positives they gave about Jesup, and there are many more, but here are the positives. We have an unusual downtown with our businesses on one side of the street, and then the parks across the street. We have large green space, which is a lot of towns have. Many towns have a town square or businesses on both sides of the streets. They really liked the businesses on one side of the street. We have a good core of businessmen or businesses and men and women. One thing that really impressed them was the class of CAPs, which you're going to meet 3 young ladies tonight on this program, or you've met 3 young ladies tonight on this program, I should say. They love our business park and what's going on out there. They were very impressed with the Co-work 591 building here and the businesses being run from here. They really like Heartland. The Co-work is part of Heartland and the phone company. And Heartland has access to huge amounts of grants that can help Jesup in many ways. So those were some of the positives that they really liked about Jesup. Some of the negatives that they talked about for Jesup were signs welcoming people on all sides of town, signs pointing people to like City Hall and the library and the school somewhere, maybe perhaps at the intersection down by Casey's. They talked about businesses that are closed on should take the old signs down. They're no longer open, not to attack Hanson's Locker, but Hanson's Locker has been closed now for a while. You know, people go there, they think it may be open by signs being up. And they talk about signs for businesses that are not up, that should be up. As you walk by many businesses in town, they do not have signs up. They want to develop the downtown sidewalk to make it have more bling. And I know Mike Feckheather is working on that. They talked about some current conditions of buildings around Jesup where there's been inappropriate rehab and inappropriate usage for those buildings. They talked about how we have a volunteer chamber where I know like towns like Independence have a paid position chamber leader, Chamber of Commerce leader, and we have a voluntary economic development rather than a paid economic development leader here in Jesup. So those are some negatives, and all of those can be fixed, and that's why we brought those in and to our government's credit as they brought those in. They weren't afraid to hear the negatives because they know we have many positive things going on here at Jesup. If you want to see that report the IEDA is going to send that report to Mayor Even, and you'll be able to access that report at City Hall. So this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Don't forget, December 2nd, we are going to be broadcasting live at Jesup's Christmas celebration, the park across the street from City Hall. We will be on the second story of the gazebo, the band gazebo. Remember, Santa Claus will be directly below us, and we're going to try to talk to some children and find out what they want for Christmas. In January, we're going to show Dave Harms and his grandson's arts. Those showings are going to be in Independence. I'll let you know of that when we have finalized that. We are finalizing our calendar for next year, and next week I will share that with you. I'm traveling to Alcater tomorrow to talk with their art consortium about some things. Don't forget, it's better to serve than to throw money at a problem. Give your time rather than your money. It's Christmas. Don't be afraid to help Salvation Army. Ring the bell. It's a great cause. I know that the Jesup Schools runs a food drive during that time. Contact the offices up there, and they will help you. If you would like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241. So, Pook Merchandise is going to have karaoke November 25th from 2 until 5. So stop in there and see Roger. I'm Jim Gillespie, and thanks to our producer Blake Tempus and Kelly C. Haas at Cowork 591 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. Thanks to guests tonight, Grace Henninger, Maddie Bauler, and Jestina Kenser. Remember, each day is about little victories.